Welcome back to All Things Creepy. I'm your host, Micah James. Now, I won't lie to you guys. This week, I was originally going to do a deeper dive into the Russian sleep experiment and talk about how it kind of made its way into popular culture and talk about the Men's Health article that was written on it and all that. But I need a little bit more time to put it all together before I can confidently present it to you guys. So bear with me as I bring you another creepypasta, one that I personally think is classic, and one that when I initially read it back in, I think it was 2010 or something like that, it did scare me. Now, to kind of make up for the fact that I'm not getting my Russian sleep experiment episode or my part 2 to the Russian sleep experiment out in time, I'm going to kind of give you a 2-for-1 episode today. So after I read you Gurgles and Bugman, I'm going to let you know my thoughts on the Ghost movie. I am not going to lie, there's going to be slight spoilers to it. So if you want absolutely no spoilers, I'll let you know right now it is very, very good, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It's so worth it. That is your spoiler-free review, and like I said, at the very end, I will do slight spoilers. Now, with all of that being said, let's get into the episode. Like I said, I'm reading to you Gurgles and Bugman, and it is credited to Won't Think Straight. After my last experience, my parents reminded me of another story from my childhood. When you're 5, your mind lacks the experience to make informed judgments or connect things which aren't obvious. Over the years, the details get fuzzy and forgotten. Speaking with my parents the other day, they cleared the cobwebs burying the story. I remember now, much too clearly, the story of Gurgles and Bugman. I just started kindergarten that year. Everyone's a friend when you're 5, so I had no shortage of classmates. But coming from a poor family, I didn't get to see much of them outside of school. My parents spent all their waking hours trying to make ends meet and didn't have time to ferry me from house to house. So, I spent my early years mostly keeping to myself, playing with the random assortment of knickknacks from the shelf in my room. Being short of money gave my family a habit of hoarding, so they hated to throw anything out. One particular item on the shelf was a small, old-fashioned TV set, a wooden veneer box about 2 feet wide by a foot tall. It had a curved glass screen that took up half the front panel. Beside the screen was a large chrome dial used to switch channels. At the top was an antenna formed by 2 terribly twisted wires. When my boredom made me turn it on, I'd usually just get static and snow on that glowing black and white screen. I twist the heavy clicking dial, hoping to pick up some local broadcasts. Mostly it would be some ghostly images and incoherent sound fragments. But one channel was always crystal clear. It was the Gurgles and Bugman show. Gurgles was a clown, but not a common one. He wore a thin black suit that draped his tall, skinny body with a matching tie and an oversized novelty clown shoes to complete his distinctive outfit. His pupils were completely black, like polished ebony marbles, with no trace of white around them. Black face paint around those eyes and across his cheeks and mouth made him look like a manic, grinning skeleton. It was only the crazy crop of curly hair sprouting off the sides of his head that gave him a more human look. As much as Gurgles freaked me out, Bugman scared me more. He was short and round, like a hunchback dwarf, with a dark cape. He had prosthetics covering his eyes to make him look like a fly, and a mouth that was rotated 90 degrees and opened from side to side. The show itself was like candid camera with pranks played on unsuspecting people. It would always start with Gurgles and Bugman hidden away in someone's home. Gurgles would face the camera, staring at you, his bony finger touching his lips. When the unsuspecting star of the show came into view, a laugh track would begin to play. You would see them go about their nightly routines, oblivious to the conspiracy that Gurgles and Bugman had involved us in. We'd see them making dinner or in the lounge watching TV with their family or quietly doing their homework. Then we'd watch as Gurgles and Bugman stole their pen or moved their glass or made things disappear behind their backs. The camera angles would change as Gurgles and Bugman shifted their hiding place from the dark corners of a room to the cupboards, to the ceiling, or under the furniture, all while looking back at you and winking. The closer they got, the louder and more laughter from the soundtrack. Eventually, when everyone went to sleep, a victim would be chosen for their prank. Waiting in the closet or under the bed, Bugman would crawl out and gently climb in beside them. His jaw would open sideways and out would come a sharp straw that he would stick in the person's neck. This always paralyzed their victim because sometimes you could see them struggle if they woke up and saw Gurgles and Bugman on top of them. The laugh track would be extra loud and uproarious those few times the victims awoke. Gurgles would make faces at the camera while the audience laughed, and Bugman would use his straw to drink from the person's neck. When the victim stopped struggling after a few minutes, the laughter would turn to claps and cheering. With Bugman finished, Gurgles' face would fill the whole screen with his impossibly wide, sharp-toothed grin. Then he would whisper, "See you again soon." The way those all-black eyes pierced through the screen always gave me chills. I hated the show, but would always be too afraid to go near the TV while it was running. One day, the TV mysteriously disappeared from my room. My parents told my 5-year-old self that they sold it to pay the bills. I accepted that without question. I was kind of glad it was gone. But yesterday, when I asked them about the TV again, they exchanged nervous glances, then filled in some missing gaps from my childhood. Halfway through the year, Derek, a classmate I didn't know very well, died in horrific circumstances. He was murdered in his bed with a stab wound to the neck. No evidence of a break-in was ever found, so his distraught parents were taken into custody as the primary suspects. They denied all the allegations against them. At the time, Mrs. Nolan, my teacher, told our class. I apparently explained to her that Derek couldn't be dead because I saw him and his family on the Gurgles and Bugman show the day before. When Mrs. Nolan mentioned to my parents what I said, they had immediately taken the TV from my room, driven it to a junkyard, and had it burnt to nothing but ashes and molten metal. That TV was in my room because it had always been broken. It was never plugged in the whole time it sat on my shelf. Whatever I saw on that screen, it wasn't from a station. So that's my story of Gurgles and Bugman. But I'm not sure if that's really the end, though. After all, do Gurgles and Bugman still perform their nightly show for some unsuspecting viewer somewhere in this world? And if so, who will be their next star? Yeah, so that is Gurgles and Bugman. This was originally posted in r/no sleep. I'll link both the version that I read and the one from r/no sleep. But now with all that being said, on to my slightly more in-depth, slightly more spoiled version of Right Here, Right Now from Ghost. It really was fantastic. It was so good that I ended up seeing it twice this week. The day that I'm recording this on a Wednesday. I saw it again earlier today for the second time. It's so good. Like, I very much highly recommend it. It's just a little frustrating though. If you decide to watch this once it starts streaming, I recommend you watching chapters before you dive into the movie, even if it's just for a refresher, just because it does continue the story from where chapters left off. So you might already kind of understand the story if you already know Ghost lore, but it'll fill in some gaps that you might not know upon going into this movie. But the ending is just so frustrating. It really is, because Tobias decided to leave it on a cliffhanger. We already see the shadow wearing the hat, right? So we already know that this person is Papa or Mama, but probably Papa. But the twin theory makes the most sense. It really does. So yeah, let me know what you think about the Ghost movie, what you thought of it, and let me know if you think the twin theory makes the most sense like I do, or if you have a whole other theory. Until someone pointed out the twin theory, I personally was low-key thinking like, oh, maybe one of the Goulettes will like come forward and become, the first mama. But, after someone pointed out the twin theory, it just makes a lot more sense, just because in the movie it is confirmed that Copia has a twin. So yeah, that just makes the most sense. So again, let me know what you think. All my socials will be posted in the show notes. And otherwise, I'll see you guys next week with my more in-depth version of the Russian sleep experiment. And with that, y'all stay safe and keep being creepy.